Hey, I am so excited for today
Me
because
too.
we have Kacey back. And I just love Kacey, and she has so many great things to say. We're actually going to have her back again.
Yeah.
So we have another one coming up here later with Kacey. But I hope you listen to today. It's such a good message about, loving ourselves and our own self-esteem and body image. And
Yeah. And it kind of veers off onto other things, but it really, all the things that we discuss in this really has everything to do with our self-esteem and who we are as humans and how we interact and react with others as well as ourselves.
yeah. So listen, I know you're going to love this.
It's going to be great.
You're listening to Fit and Hippie with Dori and Lori. The show is about the show that covers the show that gets into
Exactly.
Hi,
right.
Lori.
Hi, Dori.
How are you?
I'm good. We're here, in my house together with our guest.
Yes. Did you wake up
I
with a
love
cough
it.
today? Have you been feeling a little feverish? Have you lost your sense of taste? I'm just asking all the questions I
wish.
get asked everywhere I go.
Maybe I wouldn't keep eating if I lost my sense of taste.
Or you just eat more because you're trying to get the taste.
Wait, yeah. No, I'm good. I'm doing good.
Well, we're back
Doing
today with Miss Kacey Gardner.
Which I love it because Kacey's podcast was one of my favorite podcasts.
I think it was our most popular.
Yeah, I love it.
To tell you the
Well, it was
truth.
my favorite. That's for sure.
I think it was your husband's favorite too.
I think it was everybody's husband's favorite podcast. I've had guys I don't even know, my friends' husbands, be like, "Thanks." I'm like, "What? I don't even know you." I'm like, "Oh, right."
Podcast. Yeah.
You're welcome.
So if you haven't heard the podcast with Kacey yet, you want to look it up.
Yes, you do, because I get to sing my song on there too.
That's right. Dori gets to
finally got
sing
to
her
sing
song. It's all about sex, baby. So it's awesome.
My favorite subject.
I don't know what do we call it? I can't even remember the name of it. We do have some trucks going by. Probably should close the window.
I can't remember the name of the podcast. It was something about sex.
I meant to look it up, but Kacey Gardner, look it up. On our podcast, you'll want to listen to it, and everyone will be happier.
Oh, you guys are too kind. You're too kind.
Dori's looking it up.
It is maybe talking money. No, that would be with somebody else.
Yeah, that's her husband.
Um,
The benefactor, we'll call him.
And Steve has a great YouTube channel.
Yeah,
So
give him a shout out. That would be
what is
great.
the
Just Stephen Gardner.
Stephen Gardner
on YouTube.
on YouTube, and it's spelled Gardner.
And Stephen with a PH.
PH.
Yeah, and it's an awesome channel for updates on what's happening financially and what's going on with the government. It's just really
He has a way
Good.
of introducing topics that are too big to digest and then giving it to you in a way you can digest it.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's brilliant, and he's actually built quite a huge YouTube channel in terms of YouTube subscribers.
Right.
And
He's always had the gift of explanation, of explaining things on a level that's understandable for anybody. Because not all of us,
Most of us are lay people. We don't know all
Yeah.
that jargon, so it's
And
nice
those
to have somebody who
big
explains
words.
it to us. Yeah. So check it out because it's really awesome.
Yeah.
But today we are talking about self-image. And we kind of came across this subject because on our last podcast with Kacey, we were talking about sex and us as women and how we view our bodies. And so we had talked about having another podcast because of that, on that subject in particular. And I think that it's really an important subject for us because we are very body conscious, and I think that we need to have some conversations about that. So
I couldn't agree more. I feel like it's such a big part of intimacy. Letting somebody see you is so scary.
It's vulnerable.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
To really know somebody and to be intimate with somebody, and is to let them know you. And that is terrifying for most women.
Yes.
We are taught to, I mean, kind of this false humility is being disparaging to yourself.
Yeah.
And it's something that we're taught as little girls.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
you know, men are strong and women are weak. And that is the message that we're given. And that develops into this not having a really very positive self-image. And that is, I think, where intimacy gets, you know, muddled. And so if you can have a sense of self, and not a perfect body, but a positive sense of self,
Yep.
you can then let yourself be seen because you're not afraid of what they're going to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think that our parents necessarily knew that they were teaching this. This comes from historical back, you know, time. So even if you had a mom who was really aware and wanted to really try to not have you, you know, feel that way, like you're the weaker sex or you're less than because of this. I think depending on how they're modeling, you're picking it up anyways, and picking it up from everywhere else after, you know, you're out of the house and seeing how others are acting or being. And I know that in my industry, you know, there's so much placed on a woman looking a certain way. And even though we'd all say, oh no, you know, I mean, I'm happy to look the way I do, or, you know, I'm confident or whatever, they still, you know, they're at the gym, they want to be a certain size, they want to weigh a certain amount, they want their hair to look a certain way, they, you know, they're not happy with this body part or that body part or this facial feature, or, you know.
Yep.
So
One great thing that I read recently in that book, The Kosher Sutra, I love this book. Kacey recommended it last time, and it's changed our lives, I think. But he talked about how men, because of promiscuity in our society, so men are comparing all these women because everything's so visual, movies, TV, everything. So they become experts on the female body. So then when we get with a man, then we feel we're judged by all of this standard. And so it takes away from the man, because a woman's love is meant to be healing to a man. And I don't mean that to be sexist or anything, but the love that we have can heal. And when men do that and they compare us, they miss out on that healing, and we feel that judgment, so we don't give it. It's not give and taken. I don't know if that makes sense, but to me, I was just like, whoa,
It totally
that is
makes sense.
so crazy, because we don't want to be judged by the standards of all these models on TV or some other girlfriend, or we are who we are. And, you know, personally, I've had 5 children. I mean, my body is, you know,
Amazing.
we all have our flaws.
your body does,
but we
did what
all
it's
have
supposed to
our, yeah. And so we have the standard for ourselves. So we think that we're supposed to look this way or supposed to look that way. We're judged. And when we feel that judgment from our men because of society, it makes it very difficult for us.
And the men, as you said.
Yeah.
You know,
and they don't get, we both lose. We both lose when that's a situation.
Yeah. Joseph
it's like-
Campbell talks about it a lot too, in the Joseph Campbell Companion. And he talks about when a man can receive a woman's love, like her real support and love, he can do anything.
Yeah. Right.
But it really is up to the man
Yeah.
to give that
Yeah. Yeah.
in order for the woman to be able to completely
Well, it's-
unfold.
One is, you can't have one without the other. That yin and yang is the yin is incomplete without the yang. And you know, unfortunately, our society in which we exist here in our Western culture, the woman is is perceived as in a one down position.
Yes. Yeah.
And the truth is, if we were to remove those layers, to remove the cultural layers, the historical layers, and really see women with the strengths that we innately possess, without the worldly perceptions placed upon her, that is a powerful position.
Yeah, for
it
sure.
is. It is. And the man's position is just as powerful, but in a different way. And, I feel like in order to repair that, you have to come back to this sense of self, that positive image. And I'm reading a book right now. I just started and listening to as many podcasts as I can get my hand on of Jordan Peterson. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's a brilliant philosopher and he's like the modern day philosopher. And he wrote a book, 12 Rules for Life, and one of them is, you need to have this positive sense of self, not because you want to become a narcissist,
Right.
but because you owe it to yourself and society. And imagine a society where everybody hates themselves.
Yeah. Right.
It isn't a good society.
Right. Well, even the Bible says, love your neighbor as yourself.
Right. Like
That's
that was a
important.
given already.
Yeah, right.
Like back in
Yeah.
those times, it was like, well, obviously you love yourself.
Right. Right.
So love your neighbor like that. If we
Yeah.
loved our neighbors the way we loved
Yeah.
ourselves, we treat them horribly.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
Right.
that is the truth.
Yeah.
Our self-talk can be so terrible that, yeah. I
So-
mean, I never really thought about it that way. That's, yeah, so true. Yeah, that's not a good thing. So how do we overcome this? So what do we do? I mean, what do you suggest, Kacey? What are some things that you think are helpful for that?
So I've been thinking a lot about that because this is something that I think most people struggle with. I am no exception. And so I've spent my life, I think one of the things that I've been given innately is that I want to figure it out. I don't just take it at face value. I get obsessed, And so this idea of how to love yourself without becoming a narcissist, which is to me like,
Yeah.
for some reason was the worst thing,
Yeah,
to become
right.
so full of
Totally.
yourself.
Yeah.
And so I went the other way and was like, would poke fun at myself and to the point where my friends would be like, hey, I chose you as my friend. Could you not do that? I like you. So it made me think, wow, I really must do this a lot for people to say, hey, stop doing that. So I've done a lot of thinking and research and, time even on my knees to try to overcome this. And I don't have all the answers, to be honest with you, but something I know that has really helped is for example, when I wake up in the morning and I don't make my bed, I then start my day with, I'm the kind of person who doesn't make her bed.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm so about
Yeah,
that.
right, too.
And so it's
Isn't
like,
that
these are
funny?
the little things who
Yeah.
like when your habits don't match who your potential is, you start to believe that's who you are.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but if it doesn't match this idea that we know that we are, this isn't a religious concept, but that we are these divine creatures, whether you believe we were created or if we just happened. I believe that we were created, and that we were created to progress and to have learning and growth and love and connection.
Yeah.
And when you perform below that, your reaction is discomfort, depression, despair, doubt, all of those things that depress your sense of self.
Right.
So my advice is to do one small thing, and it's not even like a commitment or like a goal. This is like your sense of self. I'm the kind of person who wakes up and makes her bed every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm the kind of person who, when things get hard, people depend on me because I am strong.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person who goes for a walk instead of sit in front of my fridge
Yep.
looking for the answer to my problem, which
Right.
I'm telling you, it
Right.
doesn't go. It's not there. I've tried a lot. It isn't there.
It's not in the refrigerator.
It's not in the fridge. It's not in the pantry. It's not in the drive-through. It's not in your soda. It's not in your wine. It's not in a bottle. It is in connection.
Yeah, for sure.
And it is
Yeah.
in, finding that higher sense of self through service.
Yeah.
Whether that is, and the thing is service to yourself is still service.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like luxuriate in a bubble bath with a glass of wine.
And sometimes that's okay.
Sometimes that's good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're the type of person that goes because you want to accomplish so that you have a better sense of self, it isn't there either.
Yeah.
Perfectionism is not self-love.
Yeah.
So it looks different for everybody. For some people, it's slowing down. For some people, it's speeding up. So you have to find what that is for you. And for me, I'm the type of person that, you know, I believe that was, you know, the idea was pushed on me as a little girl was that I was lazy. So I fought that. So for me, I have to produce more in order to feel like I'm achieving my potential. But I have friends who they went the other way, and they're perfectionists, so they're always performing, they're always trying to progress more, and therefore find their value. What if that value just exists?
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you can find out finally that your value is already there, you don't have to earn it. It just is. You are a beautiful divine being.
Yeah.
And just existing gives, just the fact that you're a human being is your divine.
Intrinsically valuable. Yes.
But I don't feel like I got that message.
Yeah.
And that was
most of us haven't.
Most of us didn't. And that's
I wish
not
we
saying
had.
it's a failure on my parents. It's probably a failure on our society.
Yes, probably.
On, you know, we look at generationally, like what the messages that our parents got from their parents and the messages that they got. So this is generational healing. So we are at a higher level of consciousness here in our current world because of our phones and because of the internet, because of the
access,
the ability to just have information in a snap of your fingers, you know. So being able to, you know, we can't fool this coming generation. They're going to Google it.
That's for sure.
Yeah, they are going to Google it.
And one thing too recently that I've been thinking about is even with food choices. So kind of going back to your I'm choosing to be this kind of person. Like when we are wanting to eat healthier in our life or whatever, which most of us women are always trying to do something with that. But instead of saying, I can't have that, I can't do that, I can't be that, it's I am the kind of person that doesn't do that. So if we'll give sugar as an example. So I can't eat sugar. Rather than saying I can't eat sugar, you say I'm just not I just don't do it.
Well,
I'm just the kind of person I don't eat sugar. And
Yeah.
so you're kind of giving yourself power rather than taking that power away.
And you want to get to the deeper level.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person who listens to her body. And right now, I know that isn't going to feed what I need.
Yes.
And so tomorrow it may be. Like, it might be like, but today I know that's not what I need. I'm the kind of person who's in tune with her body rather than I'm the kind of person who doesn't consume sugar. Because that's like, I call that a dead man's promise.
Yeah.
You can't keep that promise until you're dead. Right? So like, I'm never going to do that again. Like, you just know when you say those things in your head, you will. Just know, okay, that's probably not true. But I'm not going to make a dead man's promise. I'm going to say today, I am the kind of person who listens to her body. I'm in tune with my body. And that is something that
empower
I need.
yourself.
Well,
rather than make yourself a victim.
And that's really what
kind
you were
of
trying
take
to
that away.
You were
taking
trying
the
to say
victimization away.
Is if you're using that wording, I can't, or that's when it's you know, our bodies, our minds sometimes will rebel against that. It's like, you know, it's a restriction instead of like, take that power away from it.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can have whatever you want. You're an adult.
I choose.
So you choose.
You know, I'm choosing to have whatever, something more healthy or whatever your choice is in life. Yeah. So you're making it an empowered statement rather than a victimized statement. And I think that that's a good thing. And just the self-talk issue that's a big one because, you know, if I do something wrong, oh my gosh, it's like, can I beat myself up anymore?
You can beat yourself up worse than anybody else around you will.
For sure.
All of us.
Yeah.
You know, and
for sure.
We always have a running dialogue in our head. And by the way, like we say the same things every single day, like over and over and over again. So we're oblivious to the fact that that's going on.
Yeah.
And it's just like anybody that's trying to make a change, whether they are have an addiction to drugs, alcohol, food, sex, whatever it is, it's catching that and putting a stop. It doesn't mean like it ends it. It means, oh, whoa.
Yeah.
You know, like when you were saying, you know, I'm looking in the refrigerator, it's catching yourself doing that and going, oh, wait a minute. I know, I recognize this. Let's do something different. And that's the only, that's, you know, I don't want to say the only way, because there's always many ways, but that's one of the ways that you start to make the changes that you're talking about. That, by the way, when you were talking and you know, about this value that is intrinsic, like we're already born with it, I was sitting here with my mouth open because it's the simplicity of it is so, it's why are we missing that? Because it really is that simple.
We weren't programmed that way.
And children are born that way.
Of course.
They come in and they're just like, you know, I like Julia. Okay, so I use Julia all the time.
Julia's my 6-year-old.
And she just, you go like this, Julia, you're beautiful. And she'll go, I know. But it's so innocent. And
I love
so
it. And there's no hubris in that.
And there's no narcissism about it. It's just like, you know, I know.
Love it.
And
she's like, I know, right? And like with a hair flip.
well, now she's learning that.
Well, I mean,
but
they come this way,
they
Dori.
come this way. We come this way.
We have all come this way.
And where did we lose it? And I don't think most of our parents, yes, there are some really awful people out there raising children, unfortunately. But I think the most of us, our parents, are trying to do the best they can, and they're screwing us up.
In their own brokenness. I mean, you know.
Yeah, but now it's up to us.
Yeah.
And you could, I mean, if you really pull back and see the macro scale of that, it's quite beautiful if you think about it. That, you know, the things that you could look at it. I mean, the Carl Jung, you know, the Jungian
like
view, that whatever our parents don't fix, they pass on to their children, which sounds horrible, except for that it isn't. It's actually a beautiful, that's called progression.
Wow.
Like, and so, you know, if you can do better than what you had, what more could you ask for? You know, when you look at a little, like thinking about Julia, but the first time she stood, I'll never forget this. She's, you know, all of my kids were late bloomers in the sense of they crawled a little bit later, they walked a little bit later.
Nothing wrong with that, man.
And you know,
I try to make my kids walk later.
I know.
Sit down.
Especially with the baby. She's my baby. No, you push her over. Oh. But you know, that first time she stood and we're all standing in a circle around her, and she stood and looked up at us, and we were all clapping and hooting and hollering, and I'll never forget Hallie, like her feet were pattering the floor, just so excited and clapping all at the same time. And I thought, and then Julia just let out this big squeal of joy, and it was for standing for 10 seconds. Right.
Oh my god.
Landing on her diaper.
And it was just so. It was just like joy. I'll never forget that feeling of all of us just standing there congratulating her for meeting a milestone.
Right.
And we lose that. We're afraid that we're going to create monsters. And you know, and the truth is you can go, you know, you congratulate. I mean, that whole movement from my generation of everybody gets a trophy for just showing up. That's a terrible mentality.
Also, yes.
But what we tend to do as a society is to swing completely the other way.
Always.
And to say, well, I reject that. And the truth is that there is wisdom in these places, and we need to collect them instead of rejecting the entire concept. So can you create a monster by congratulating them too much? You bet you can. We see that playing out right now with people that are just, I would say, I didn't quite meet the requirements to be a millennial, but
you're just about 4 years, I think.
Yeah. But I mean, even if I was, I would gladly take on that role just to change the mentality of.
I think some of it is a lack of discipline and rules, not necessarily praise. So I think that if we allow our kids too much indulgence, or we don't, for their better, give them some discipline, and I mean rules and guidelines and consequences,
their own,
then then that can cause issues. I think nobody can ever have too much praise, in my opinion. I mean, I think as far as just encouraging each other and saying, you are awesome, you're amazing. Who of us could not have
Benefited for that.
Yeah. just sometimes even now in my life, it's like, I just need somebody to say, it's okay. You're going to do fine. Everything's going to be good.
You're gonna do fine.
But you know what I'm saying? The benefits of encouragement are huge.
Right. Consistent.
Within the boundaries of loving discipline.
Right.
And just boundaries in general.
And even the encouragement if they make a mistake, and instead of trying to fix it or clean it up, which I'm guilty of doing a lot of when my kids were growing up, because I never wanted them to be in pain. But but then I recognize, as that, give them the encouragement that they can handle it, and that it will be okay, and that they, encourage them. Oh,
you can do it.
You got to make this change.
Right.
You can do it. I know it's hard. And something you were talking about with the Young Yin philosophy, where this goes generations back, and so we can fix this. Well, you're even talking about you as yourself as a child that had things happen to you that created some of these thoughts and feelings in the way that you've grown up and stuff. But you as a parent changing changes the trajectory
we were just
of your children as well. It's not just
pseudo conversation about that,
because it's and back generations, because all of this is coming from how your parents were raised, like you said, and their parents before them, and so on and so forth.
Right. And our healing is healing for our children,
right?
And healing to our progenitors.
Yeah.
Think about if you believe that their essence or their spirit or their energy is still here. I mean, I imagine myself passing on and seeing my kids do better than me and their kids. That would bring me so much joy.
Yeah.
That would, thank you for figuring that out. I couldn't do that.
Right.
And you did. That's great.
Yeah.
And, I see that play out in my kids right now when they make a choice or they're more cognizant of something that I wasn't. I'm like, man, I'm so excited.
I know. I love that too.
I'm excited to see what they do with that, know. I think that's really great. Something that I was thinking when you were speaking, Lori, was that when we tell our kids how amazing they are and they don't feel amazing, that creates a disconnect if we don't elaborate on, like for example, my son Gavin is probably a genius and he doesn't know that. And we've done that on purpose because something that my dad told me once was the worst thing you could tell your kid is they're a genius. Yeah. And he's like, and you have to be really careful of that because you have a genius. Because then they have this, imposter syndrome they'll grow up with. He'll be like, well, if I failed at this, then people are going to find out I'm not really a genius. I've been told my whole life how smart I am. And, I didn't struggle with that because I wasn't ever told I was a genius growing up. That didn't come until much, much later in life. That genius was developed over years and years of observation, but it wasn't something that was innate in me, but it is in my son. And I have to be really careful not to say, wow, you're so smart.
That's
what
true.
A smart boy you are. You made that choice because you're smart, because then what happens when they fail? Yeah. They're not smart. Yeah. So I say, wow, you worked so hard. Yeah. And we have to do that with ourselves too.
Good point.
So speak to yourself like you would want some, like I love letterboards. Like if you watch my husband's YouTube channel, those letterboards are from yours truly most of the time. And I love, there was one that said, be the person you needed when you were growing up. Or when you need, and I've thought a lot about that, and be the kind of person in my own mind to treat myself the way I needed to be treated growing up. And, we try to rectify the things that we feel like we're slighted. And if you look at a little kid and their universe revolves around themselves and you don't heal those things or at least address or acknowledge them, you have this little damaged 8-year-old ruling your emotions as an adult. Yes. And that is a problem. Because 8-year-olds don't make rational choices most of the time. I'm telling you, because I am raising that age group. And the world is unfair. If you talk to an 8 and 9-year-old, count how many times they say life is unfair.
It's so unfair.
And
you got a nickel.
you have no idea.
I know. And, the appropriate response isn't, well, the world is unfair. It's, yeah, I'm so sorry you feel that way. And it probably does feel unfair.
Yeah.
And acknowledge those feelings. But to do that for yourself is really hard. So treat yourself, whatever it is. Like, if you have that thought, man, this feels unfair. Okay, what feels unfair? Where is that coming from? And this is self-compassion. That is where your positive self-image is going to be born out of. You cannot hate yourself into a better position,
Right,
whether that is with you're trying to lose weight. When I've tried that, I've tried self-hatred to lose weight for so many years, and it is not working.
How did that work?
It's not working.
That don't work.
No. And and if it does work, you pay for it in other ways.
Yeah.
And something suffers.
Yeah.
That hate does not build.
Right.
It tears down.
Yeah, it does.
So, you go one of two ways if you want to look at it on, and that's true with intimacy and in relationships. And it's true with raising children. It's true with yourself.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling like, gosh, this life is unfair. It is. But having somebody tell you that that's true doesn't make it feel better.
Yeah.
It just makes you go further inside yourself.
It doesn't make it fair either.
No, it doesn't.
Acknowledging it.
Yeah.
So, but acknowledging it for yourself and saying, okay, what about this feels so unfair?
Right. Because you got to find out what the meaning
like
of
that.
the unfairness is. And it might just be unfair. And then you can move forward with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and explore what part of that,
Yes.
is hard. And something that I'm listening to with this Jordan Peterson, as he says that they ran all of these clinical trials with people who were struggling. It was this I don't remember what university it is, a Ivy League type university in Canada, and they had all of these these were intelligent people. These were intelligent young people who had gotten into this really, really great school, and yet they were on academic probation. So they were about to get kicked out because their grades were so bad. So they thought, let's see if we can help them. And they tried these trials with them where they would do writing. They would write what their future goals were, and they tried different types of whether they wrote about their past, whether they wrote about right now, or whether they wrote about their future. And they divided them up into groups with gender and position, race, all of these things. And the ones that performed the best were the ones that, like let's say it was a minority and a male. They really needed to explore. They never decided what their future would look like. So writing about what they wanted for their future rather than just performing for someone else was really helpful. And the people that needed to work through their past problems, really. So really it was writing, whether and to explore, and I've seen this with people around me who I feel like, wow, how have they made this really amazing transformation? And a lot of times I wrote, like I look at my husband and all the growth that he's had, and he's writing, he's journaling,
for sure.
And
it does it for me.
and you don't have to look very far. We're so blessed that we can pick up our phone that's probably attached to you somehow, whether it's a ring on the back of it. I'm like, wow, it's jewelry. I can wear it. Or, you put it in your pocket or in your purse. It probably goes with you everywhere. And you can ask, what are some prompts that I can write to help do some self-exploration? And you could do that and find out and explore what that damaged part of you. Think about what your most traumatizing experience is, even if it's just 6th grade and your teacher kicked the chair out from under you and it humiliated you in front of your class, or if it was something much bigger, something, being abandoned by a parent, or the death of a friend or a loved one, something. And how old were you? I guarantee you explore that, you'll be able to heal that little person and let them go.
For sure. Yes. That's such good advice. And I know in my own experience, kind of touching on some things you spoke on before, but making the choice or telling myself, you can do it. You can do this. You can do this. And sometimes it's I can do this one thing. I can make this one step. I can get up this morning, and then I can do this, and then I can do that. And when I used to work out really hard, it'd be like, okay, I have 10 of these to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And for some reason, me doing that counting backwards helped me accomplish my goal. Yeah. So I would go, okay, halfway, and then I'd start counting backwards. Okay, I only have 2 more. I only have 1 more. And it helped me to make strides towards a goal. It helped me. And just telling myself, you are strong, get up, you can do it. And sometimes that's really hard to just tell somebody. I mean, I think it's just something that has to come from inside of you, because you can't just tell somebody in depression, just tell yourself to get up. No. There's a lot of stuff to that. But personally, on a very deep level, I've had to say, it's time to get up. It's time to take this step. I can take this step. I can take this step. And you start progressing, and then you feel stronger. Like with exercise, like with any choices, the more you take those steps forward, the more empowered you feel. And it doesn't mean that that's there forever. You slip back and then you have to do it again, But that's something that, definitely has made a difference, I think, for me. And I wonder, why that's there in me when, for some people, it seems to be very difficult. Why I have that inside of me that says, get up, get going. I mean, don't let go. Yeah. And maybe we all have that. We just don't connect with it or something. I mean, I'm curious about that, because some of the things I've been through, I've watched other people go through the same things. We all don't have the same result. Why is that? But I think doing some self-exploration, like you said, writing is a great way to sit down and be like, okay, why? Ask yourself all those why questions. Right. Why? And let yourself be healed. Sometimes I think we just go on and we don't want to deal with it. It's too hard. It's too hurtful. It's going to take too much of us. But if we don't do it, it's going to take too much of us.
Yeah. And then you pass it on to your kids to figure out. And that's, I don't want my kids to have to figure out my stuff. I want to figure it out. Yeah. Something that struck me while you were talking is, it's another Jungian thing. He said, if you're not the protagonist or the hero in your own story, you're going to be a bit part in somebody else's. How fun is that?
I love that. Oh my!
And I remember, for some reason, when I was a little girl, I wanted to be in movies. I think everybody fantasizes to some degree that they would be in a movie, or that they. And I'd always look in the mirror and be like, what part would I play? And interestingly, I identified with the Bonnie Hunt type of character, where she was like the best friend. She wasn't the main character, because that's too much pressure. But I think that I did that to myself. I'm Bonnie Hunt, and I love Bonnie Hunt, and she has been the protagonist in some stories. But a lot of the times in the 90s, when I was fantasizing this, she was always the best friend, or somebody called up to get advice, and then they would go off on their hero's journey, and she was just there boop, 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 I'm the best friend. I've got bangs, and I'm kind of cute, but I'm not too cute, And I'm and as I've gotten older and I've gotten married, and I thought, I am on my own hero's journey. Yeah. So if we were all to write, let's say we were all to write our own autobiography, how, we are all interesting. Every one of us has a story that is worthy of being told, that's worthy of seeking out the characters of the story and who we are. And I might be a bit part in somebody else's life, but in my life, I'm the heroine. Yeah. And you're the heroine, and you're the heroine.
Not the drug.
No, the heroine.
I am the heroine of my story.
Right. I don't want to be Bonnie Hunt in the 90s anymore. I want to be, I want to be the Kacey, the protagonist or the hero of my story. And how do you do that? You have to it does take a little bit of hubris. It does take a little bit of, my story is important and it's deserving of being told. And if you take that, I'm the kind of person who's the hero of her own story. And does a hero make her bed? Does a hero go for a walk instead of, whatever the your vices? Do you serve? Do you look outside yourself? Do you, something that happened to me, I got terribly sick a few weeks ago. It wasn't COVID as far as I know.
I think the tests are screwy. I'm pretty sure you have it.
Whether it was COVID or something else, it was awful. And I got pneumonia and I was sick in bed and I couldn't do my daily normal routine. And I felt like I was dying. And I felt physically and emotionally and spiritually that I was dying. And I turned so far inward and I thought, wow, this really gives me so much compassion for people who have pain, whether it's depression, because I'm not a naturally depressed person. I don't struggle with that generally. I mean, I've had moments that I felt depressed, but I've never been depressed. And pain turns you inside yourself, and it has a purpose. You are supposed to try to heal yourself, but when that gets stuck there, when those feelings of depression start to fester and they don't get acknowledged or worked out, then that pain turns you inside yourself and you become useless to the people in your life who need you. And so if you find yourself in that place for a long extended period of time, then it's, that's when you need to do the things that are hardest to do, which are get a little sun on your face. Step outside, COVID or not.
That will do.
Yes. And you've got to get connected to somebody or something, and somebody is probably better than something, but it's better than nothing. You can't do nothing. It could
be a dog,
a cat. It could be
something to take care of.
FaceTime somebody. Everybody has somebody that will pick up the phone for them. And if you feel like you don't, then go outside and say, I'm the kind of person who says hi to people and puts a smile on their face. Do something to get outside of yourself, because if you can't do that, then you go turn inside yourself and then there's no growth there. That's where that festers and becomes a cancer, and I think about that, and it's pain turns you inside and you have to get outside to get the pain to go away.
Well, and I think getting outside of it can alleviate at least the emotional part of the pain. Some people live with a lot of pain, and then that can make them retreat. I mean, physical pain. But I think the endorphins that come from getting outside of yourself can be helpful even in that situation, I think,
And energy is a real thing. And, on my own, I mean, I don't know if you've ever done the color code test.
Of course.
Yeah. And I'm a yellow.
And
a yellow
I don't know.
That's a 99% yellow is almost completely useless without other people. I'm not kidding you. Like, I mean, yellow red is probably the best, like where you have a little bit of drive to get the fun thing. But where you're like, I'm like 99% yellow, which is, it sounds really fun. And I am a great friend. But on my own, I am like this puddle of like stupor. Like, what do I do without people?
Because we're connectors. We derive energy from others and from connection. I am that way too.
Whether you're, even if you're a severe introvert and you are depleted by other people's energy, or you're an empath, and I know that that's a real thing. I can't relate to it, but I usually am drawn to those people. Because they're drawn to me too, because they don't have what I have. And, it's that yin and yang thing that we have talked about. Yeah. But even if you're severely introverted, you need other people. And if you think you don't, go back in your history and figure out what trauma happened to make you think you don't need anybody. Because everybody needs somebody. Everybody, we all need each other. We didn't come here to have a singular, isolated, alone experience. We came here to have a human, connected, sharing energy experience. And I thought about how we were talking about our self-image, right? We're talking about, our self-worth really. And look how much we've covered in that time. We've talked about so much. It's because this is a really big thing. And think about that. Our sense of self is really a sense of everybody.
And the people that have been in our lives or will be in our lives, and the people that are around us on a daily basis. We're pack animals.
Yeah. That's what scares me so much about the situation we're in right now with this isolation and COVID and all
the
that.
lasting effect it will have.
It's really going to have, some
suicide
repercussions.
has already gone up.
Yeah.
Really.
Domestic
And
violence
we need
has
each
gone
other.
up, and
We need to even sit by each other. I'm thinking just going to a theater and sitting next to people, or being on an airplane,
Our microbiome.
or walking or sitting in a restaurant. I mean, just the way that we need to be around people. We don't necessarily need to be around people 24/7. Many people have a hard time with that. I'm like you. I'm a connector. I think that's why I reach out to people who are introverted, because I feel like you need a friend, because everybody needs a friend, But we need that interaction, maybe energetically. We need that interaction. We need that connection, even with strangers. We need it. And we're losing some of that. And people are letting fear take over. I don't want to get too much into this whole subject where we are now. But it's like we need each other. We need connection. We need the exchange of ideas. We need to shake hands with people we don't know. We need that to be healthy. We need it to be healthy. And I think that that's so important. And I think those of us who know that we're connectors see the value of that so much greater than someone who may not be that as much of a connector as we are. But we all need that.
absolutely.
So,
that's kind of my 2 cents there. No.
take your 2 cents.
It doesn't sound as smart as
raise it.
Casey, but
No,
Well, it all ties
beautifully said, Lori.
and it really all ties into to what we began with our own self-image and self-esteem, because it isn't only about our own selves.
Right. Isn't that interesting?
It,
that we talked about self-image.
would you even have a self-esteem if you were like plopped down in the middle of nowhere in in a planet and you were all by yourself?
No, I mean, like,
Would you?
I
what
thought
would your
about this, like,
issues
if
be?
there
Yeah.
were no mirrors, like, or like even
Yeah.
being isolated for the first like 2 months, I like stopped doing my girl's hair, and
What?
I know, right? And if anybody knows me, I'm like the girliest girl. I wear makeup every day. I love doing my hair. I love doing my girl's hair. I love dressing them cute. And I've been calling it Corona wear. Like, my kids just like go outside and like somebody will knock on the door. I was like, sorry, excuse us in our Corona wear. Like, I let my kids just do whatever, because when there's no witness to it, then it kind of sucks all of the like meaning out of it, really, for me, because I'm an extrovert and I feed off of other people's energy, and like, and so now, like, as I think about like what really matters, okay, if we can take away the layers of what's expected of us and what other people need from us that is inappropriate to ask of us, and shave all those things off, like, what are we left with? And I think, presenting your best self is really important.
Yes.
And taking care of yourself is really important.
For you.
I feel
yourself.
better
Yes.
when I brush
For
my
you.
hair, put on makeup,
Same.
I feel better about myself.
Yep.
And then the next day when I realized, like, wow, I was looking pretty grungy there. Like, somebody else would knock on my door, like, and be like, why are you ready? Why are why do you have clothes on? Why are you wearing pajamas? And you realize you're not going anywhere. Right. And it's like, yeah, I need this for myself.
Yes.
I need
to look in the mirror and feel,
I've told Sean, I said, I just need to feel like a person.
person. I say that
I have to
too.
put my makeup on and do all
Look,
this
I'm a
so I can
person.
feel like a person again. It's like I'm not just a lump here in the apartment doing my crafts.
Oh, no, but there's something, and that was something else that I was going to say. I'm so glad you said that finding meaning in something that, I've been reading a lot of self-compassion books, and I'm like a self-help book addict, and I abandon them as fast as they come at me if I feel like they're not good. And I won't name any names, but there's been a few that I was like, oh, that's so icky to me.
or you can get over, and it's like, I really need a slutty novel right now.
I
just need a break, because I do that. I get
write one.
Too much on. Yeah, you should.
A slutty novel.
Anyway, you were saying.
But I was saying that if you want to feel good about yourself, then create something. And if sitting down to write is too big, that I get it. If you feel paralyzed by that, then I ordered. And this is right when I got sick and I was feeling like I just need to create something.
Yes.
And I ordered diamond painting. Have you seen those? They're advertised and you paint with gems, and it's like a paint by number, but they're little tiny gems.
Oh my God.
And so you're left, like, I'm doing the Eiffel Tower, and it is the most tedious work. You use tweezers. I use tweezers, and I put it on. Like each one little, and it's like so satisfying to me because it's mindless. I put on a good self-help book or a podcast, and I will do that. Or when I'm helping my kids with their homework, and it's so tedious. And so instead of just sitting there and like grinding my teeth because they are not still understanding how to multiply or divide a fraction,
because they're only 6.
Yes.
because
That's a tough one.
It's a tough one. No, I didn't understand how to do it till yesterday. So I was today years old when I figured out how to do that. No, even then I would just be like, "Hey Siri, how do you do this?" You know, that's how I did it. That's how I've figured it out so far. And
gosh,
you know, our kids will have that benefit, but they also had the benefit of a mom who had access to, you know, Khan Academy. So, you know, while my kid is sitting there doing this like mind-numbing work, I am, you know, and learning, hopefully. I'm doing I'm creating while he's doing that.
Yeah.
So that I feel like I have, I'm not just, you know, existing for other people, which is, I think, the role that women have had placed upon them.
Yes.
That you are not the protagonist in your story. You are the supporting role. And and truthfully, in my life, that is sometimes true because I'm a stay-at-home mom. My job is to support the income making person in the family and raise the children. And that can be seen by the world as a one down position. And sometimes I feel that way. Yeah. And it's hard.
I was that way.
It's hard to not lose yourself. So how I try to combat that is to go, this is a temporary position. One day soon, I will be the person who, you know, and I'm not going to force it. I'm just going to wait on this time to come and improve myself each day in little ways. And when I have setbacks, give myself compassion for those setbacks and give myself the compassion I would give to one of you sitting here with me. I would say, oh, of course you get compassion from me, but we need to give that to ourselves and then keep progressing. And, you know, and then that contributes. And if that sets a tone for my girls to have something different and better than what I have, which what I have is pretty spectacular. So, you know, that's my role. My role is pretty awesome.
Well, in creativity and creating things, wow. I know that when I get in a slump and I start feeling like, I've got to create. And whether that's creating a meal, whether that's creating, I'll have to show you some of the stuff I
We all have
but we
ways of
have our
creating.
places, and whatever that avenue is, that is an important part of who we are, and it provides energy, support, positivity into our life. We were meant to create. We were born to create. And so I think that's a very important, and I can feel it in myself because I am that. I know that I need that. When I don't do it for a while, I can feel it in myself. I need it. I need to create.
Just depletes. Like, I'm so grateful that Home Depot, for whatever reason, is an essential place that's open.
Yes, me too.
That's Michael's.
Man, really. And I was, like I had just gotten over being sick, and we're still kind of on shutdown. I know a lot of places of people listening will probably still be, they can't even go for a hike, and we feel so lucky we can. But I was like, you know what? I'm doing a project. I binge watched Fixer Upper, Chip and Joanna are like, I love them. They're like my people. I love them so much. And I was like, I need some shiplap in my life. I just do.
And she did.
And I did it. I have a friend who's like, my husband bought like a saw and like a thing. Like, she's like, I think it's like a nailer. I was like, oh, a brad nailer. I've heard of those. And two stay-at-home moms were at the hardware store with all the other construction workers.
And the other stay-at-home moms.
And the other no, we were the only ones. Several times we had to go back. I guess they'd all finished their projects, but
so you did it yourself.
Yeah.
Like you cut the wood,
you
nailed it up.
Brad nailed it on the wall.
Girl,
sanded,
you are
puttied,
amazing.
painted,
I love
trimmed.
And
it looks fantastic.
It really does.
Awesome.
And I'm like, you know what? It's so empowering. And I think that, like, if I had skipped this, say I had skipped this feeling of I am capable of accomplishing something that stereotypically is done by men.
Yep.
And and I know
Or I
a lot
just
of
don't
women
have
do
the
that.
skills. I just don't
Or
have
they're
the
just
tools.
busy raising kids, because if my kids were
Yeah.
in school right now and I was taking them to dance and taking them to
Yeah.
swim, and
Oh,
I wouldn't have
yeah.
been able to tackle that because I had the time, and
Yeah.
I could tell my kids, everybody, my son's old enough to watch the littler ones, and I could say, all right, going out for 20 minutes, be back, continue doing your homework. Please don't burn anything down, and I'll be right back. And I could do that instead of being like, nobody can do all the errands and everything. And I don't have to do that right now. So I could focus on something that was creative and something.
I love that. That's so
good.
cool.
Oh, and now guess what? I'm like, you know what I need in my life? I need wainscoting in my life. That's what I need in my life.
Love wainscot. I love
So
it.
what's your wainscoting? What's your
funny.
shiplap? Like, figure out what those things are, and that's a temporary fix.
Yes.
But it was, every time I look at that over my fireplace and I see that shiplap, I feel empowered.
Yeah.
That I'm capable.
Yeah.
And if you need to have something in your life that makes you feel that way.
Yes.
And whether it's a healthy relationship that was previously damaged, or a sex life that was previously lackluster is now super hot and fiery, whatever that is, you could look at it and be like, I did that. We did that.
Yeah.
We are amazing. We're amazing. We can do so much with that positive self-talk, self-compassion, with a self-image that looks outside of herself instead of within herself, or his self, if you're listening as a man. Hi, Steve.
I see.
I love that, Kacey. I think that's a great way for us to kind of end this. Be the protagonist in your own story. I think it's beautiful. We need to be creative and know that we can do it. Give that strength to ourselves. Be the protagonist in our own story.
Yeah, be your own hero.
I love it.
Don't wait for a white knight.
Yeah.
Don't wait for a man to be the protagonist in your story. What a waste of a good story.
Yeah.
Everybody should be the hero.
Yes, I agree. That's awesome.
Thanks, my friend.
Thank you, Kacey. I love you. I love it.
Aw, you guys are the best.
Bye.
Ciao.
Everybody get up.
This has been Fit and Hippie with Dori and Lori.
Until next time, make good choices.
Don't forget to share and subscribe if you like our podcast, and you can find us at fitandhippie.com.
That's fit in the letter in hippie.
And you can find me, Lori, at Mom to the Nines, which is mom, the number 2, the word the number 9, and an s.com.
And you can find me, Dori, at DoriMadsen.com. That's DORI Madsen.com. Dory, the fish. Okay. Is that all of it?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, whoops, drop that. Oh, sorry.
Well, the truth is,
So wipe off my lip gloss.
I don't like to have to do my hair.
Who? I could see that you are a very handsome man. I may be old, but I'm not dead.
Can you do it? Mm-hmm. Oh, jeez.
I was raised by boys.
I was raised by wolves.
Scooby-Doo-wah. Billy Oaten Doten. Shoo-bop. Do you remember that song? Flim Flam Reba. Scooby-Doo-wah. Billy Bop Noten Doten something blah. I used to know it.